So, here's the situation. I have at least, as you can see here, three of the Dandelion Dynasty books that I need to read because I read the first one last year, didn't continue because I have commitment issues, I think. And so I need to read them all in the month of August. In fact, I don't even have the whole month of August to read this because Ken Liu is coming to Singapore for an event on the last week of September, and I'm so excited, and I can't go without having read everything. And and so the plan is to read a book every single week. And that's really tough. As you know, I'm not a consistent reader. I'm a slow reader, and I read multiple things at the same time. So I have to put all my effort and energy into these three books right here. Luckily, I don't need a recap. I still remember everything that I read last year. But this is gonna be so stressful for me. But I know it's gonna be a great time. I can almost guarantee I know I'll have a great time. So let's go! Literally, what is going on? I started um the Wall of Storms just yesterday, and I'm already 200 pages in. This is unprecedented for me. Unprecedented, I say. I can read books this fast, but Ken Liu has magic. His writing is magic, and I can't freaking stop. It's like, what is this magical writing style of yours? I don't know. And that is exactly the same in The Grace of Kings. And now it's totally present in The Wall Storms. So The Wall Storms follows the outcome of The Grace of Kings, and we are getting it to we're getting into a lot more politics, a lot more intrigue in that sense. It's less war heavy, very much court politics, and I'm loving it. It's reminding me so much of all those Hong Kong dramas or K dramas that I watch that are involved in court, and all these, you know, individuals or officials or governances are arguing with each other and trying to achieve the goals of their own, and it's just the careful manipulation, the careful sensing of the people around you and making really calculated decisions to get where you need to go is just freaking insane. And it's just, Ken Liu has me at a chokehold already. And the thing is that some people might find, his story style is kind of slow. Like, we're not really going anywhere for the past 200 pages, or at least the past 100 pages. We're pretty much stuck in one arc of the story right now, compared to The Grace of Kings, where it's very war based and we're moving forward in time really quickly. But this one, it's like we've been stuck in the same period of time, like a short few days of time, in 200 pages. But it's the freaking intrigue that he's creating for everything and introducing a new character, and we're understanding this character's background, this character's story before the present time. Oh, it's so good. Oh, and the ability for him to do like the back and forth. So he's doing so the current event right now is event B, for example. And we're going back to event A that is 5 years ago, and we're going back and forth with the chapters, and so you get half of each storyline being told to you over and over again, and it just creates so much intrigue because you're like, I know what's like part 3 of event A. I want to go back to part B, and then I want to go back to event B, and then you're in event B, and then you reach a cliffhanger of part three, and then bam, you get pushed back into part event A, and I'm just like, what, and I can't stop. I've just been like, reading like a freaking machine. As you can see, I tabbed. Oh, you can't really see because I tabbed them so short. But I tabbed like some of the food that's been mentioned in the books, which I love because I want to recreate it. But not the point. Not the point. Some things that I've read in terms of the quotes is killing me. The first one is this one. Oh gosh. Where two characters are arguing about how why are powerful people always so bad? And the other character says, well, great lords, whether mortal or immortal, do what they do because their concerns are not ours. We suffer because we are the grass upon which giants tread. And I was like, oh, be for real. We are the grass upon which giants tread. Yeah, and that is like the bottom class people. People are the bottom class, irregardless of whether we're talking about the actual bottom class of society or just within a corporation, right? If you are at the bottom, you suffer the most because the giants at the top will never bother. Yeah, I was just like, that is just such a good line. Why? And then there is another one that is just so sassy, and I'm like, Ken Liu, you really know how to stir some shit up. And this one is about how this poor character is trying to, show that even with poor gobs, they are of a brilliant mind, and they say a piece of jade wrapped in a dust rag remains a piece of jade. But dog turds wrapped in silk will still stink up the room. And I was like, oh, that really, like, I when I read that line, I was just like, girl, oh my god, work. What was that? And she really just, that character really just ate everyone up. Like, left no crumbs with that one. Whoa, beautiful. Anyway, I want to stop, and I don't want to stop. I work tomorrow. I should stop because if I don't stop now, I think I really will not stop. I really will not stop until like the next part. Okay, because and this will be this much of how much I need to read. That's a lot more. That's like at least 60 pages, sorry. A lot to think. A lot to think. I'll catch you guys in the next update. I just finished the Wall of Storms and tabbed it a little. I'm kind of speechless because I can't believe that I read this so fast. But also, like, I felt like I shouldn't be reading it so fast because I'll never get to experience this story again. But it was so good too. Like, I couldn't stop. It wasn't just for the fact that I'm gonna see Ken Liu by the end of the month. It's pretty much the fact that it's so good I just can't stop reading. And Ken Liu is a master, man, at writing a good story. it's so intriguing. Like from the start of the story to the end of the story, you really truly don't know where it could go. And the tone of the story at the first half of the book is very different from the second half of the book, where I think I mentioned to you there was a lot of politics involved in the first half, and in the second half it's more war heavy and strategy heavy. And I like that because that's what originally The Grace of Kings is. But it's just the consistency of what he writes and the consistency of his characters is just freaking chef's kiss. But he is so brutal. Like with he's so brutal with like the whole thing, and I cannot like want to cry thinking about it. And he really like finds a way to like have plot twist after plot twist after plot twist, and you really can't imagine how it would go because you're assuming that it will go one way, and then he does a plot twist and you're thought, oh okay, and then he does a plot twist again and you're like, oh right. And it just catches me off guard so much. Like he gives me so much hope. Like he makes me think things will go alright, and then it doesn't, and then I'm just like, oh why are you doing this? He's so brutal. Like if you watch Jujutsu Kaisen or you read Jujutsu Kaisen, Gege is like super duper brutal with her characters. I would say Ken Liu is similarly brutal, and not more brutal with his characters. And it's like so good. I can't tell you who dies because there's no point. This is the second book. But just so you know, there's a lot of stakes, and he will not keep people alive for the sake of keeping it alive. He's very much like using all of his characters to push his plot forward, and there is importance behind his characters' deaths, and it doesn't feel like forced. It feels natural that they have to go through what they need to go through. And it's just so pissing because like I don't want them to die, but they have to die for it to make sense, for everything to make sense. And therefore it never once felt like the story doesn't have stakes, right? Because it's a war, nobody gets to survive all the time. There will be losses, there will be sacrifices on both sides of the war. And I love it so much. It felt like a fever dream reading this, and I can imagine the scenes like so vividly for myself, because when I was not reading this book, I was thinking of this book to the point where I could imagine scenes in my head, like names popping up as I'm like doing menial tasks. And I'm thinking to myself like, oh, I need to get back to that TV show. Like I need to get back to that, because it's like my head is imagining a whole scenario, and I'm like, wait, what TV show? You weren't watching anything. You were reading this freaking tome. I was like, oh yeah, right, sorry, get back to my book. There's just such vivid like imagination with this. And one of the coolest things that I think I can talk about when it comes to this story is the fact that it's steampunk, right? Actually, it's not really fantasy. I think I was wrong to think that it was fantasy for a long time. I don't know if it's pitched as a fantasy. I believe it has been, but actually it's not really a fantasy. It's more sci-fi leaning. So it's steampunk, where it's almost like a turn of a century kind of thing, where industrialization is coming into the world that is set in here. And it's so interesting how he has concepts that are obviously in real life, but he kind of just changes the terms and explains it so well to the point that you understand the concept, the scientific concept that he's trying to put from the real world that is translated into his imaginary world. It's just insanely good, and there's no one point where I felt bored with this book. I felt like there was a meaning behind every step each character takes. Every story or backstory he chooses to tell has significance, has foreshadowing, has a purpose. And I love it. I really do love it. He creates such an all-rounded story, and there's so much more. So I won't want to talk so much about this because I'm probably going to repeat this sentiment a lot. So I just want to go into the spoilery bits just a little bit for people who are watching along and maybe reading along with me, which I would love that if you are, or if you've already read this book and wanted to find out my thoughts. Okay, so come back at this timestamp, go to this timestamp if you don't want to hear about the spoilers. So, okay, bye-bye. Please leave if you don't want to hear spoilers. Okay, everyone who has stayed here for the spoilers. Can we all... I mean, I did not hear this warning about the book, but can we all just agree that Prince Timu did get raped? I was very taken aback by it, and I was very upset actually that it happened to him. But yeah, he was essentially raped, and I was just like, oh my god, why did they do this to Timu, this soft sweetheart? And you know, like, I wasn't the biggest fan of Timu from the start, because I think Timu was just alright, and you know, he's the very standard like obedient son that we see that is just very robotic, because he's the first son and he's trying to do his best and he's always looking for his father's approval, which is very evident in his character. But he's also that methodical son that just like absorbs like a lot of information as it is, and just like doesn't think much for himself. He doesn't have like the ability to think beyond himself or have his own thoughts. He always has to refer to like some scholar or scholarly fellow, and then he gets his ideas, right? So for the first time when, you know, the Liu crew invaded Dara, for the first time you see that sense of strength in Timu that you would not have otherwise thought he had. And I was actually super duper proud of him. Like, I thought he was doing his best. Like, he was actually trying to be the ruler that he wanted to be. And he really demonstrated that very, very well. Until that happened, and he really got roped into being a figurehead right now, and it's very upsetting to see. And we don't get much of his perspective, and every time we get his perspective, you know, he had the argument with his father, Kuni, and he talked about how like, oh, this is the right way to go, and I think truthfully it's just his own sense of denial, which is quite evident that he is denying it. Like, he's trying to lie to himself to make him think that this is the right decision to do and to make, but he knows that this is not the decision he would have made if not been in this circumstance, and it's very, very upsetting to see. And I was very thoroughly upset. Can we talk about all the like freaking plot? Oh my god, plotters that can you just keep throwing in your face, like you really didn't expect something and then it turns on his head. Like the one where I thought Gin was really gonna... At first I thought Gin was gonna die, and I was okay, I'm gonna cry. And then, no, Gin became alive again because of the Sigmatic force, Sigmatic energy, which is essentially just electricity. And then she was alive again. I was like, oh my god, Gin would actually survive. And then she dies. I'm like, why would you give me that false sense of hope? And then the same thing with Risana. Like, the clip that you see me crying is me crying thinking Risana has really accepted her fate, and the two of them finally reaching a standpoint where they, like, see each other as sisters and not as rival queens. And I mean, Gia has always, right, seen Risana as a rival, no matter how much she says she doesn't. She's very calculating, she's a cold bitch. But, you know, I respect her for that. I mean, I don't like her, and I don't like the way she chooses to rule, but I have to respect her for her iron fist ruling. You know, yeah. And anyway, my point is that I thought they finally came to a consensus where they could be sisters. They could finally be sisters before Risana decides to kill herself. And then, plot twist, Risana didn't want to kill herself in the end because she's like, oh my god, Gia's just like effing around with me. And I was like, oh my god, Risana is gonna stay alive, you're gonna fight for it. And then no, she still dies. I'm like, stop. And it also cancels out the whole moment of that sisterly love that I thought they finally cultivated. And I was crying because of that. I'm like, finally the two of you understand each other, and you understand like Gia's point of view, who, you know, she really wants to do it for the people. But now I'm kind of doubting. I think Gia's really like crazy. Oh god, like, she got me convinced. But I'm certain that she, more than wanting to protect the people, is extremely power hungry. Like, she actually, not that she wants more power, but the fact that she just wants power, make sure everything goes as she has planned, which is like not the best way to rule either, right? We have seen sort of like, she doesn't want a democracy kind of thing. She totally believes in the whole like the whole monarchy, one person ruling, no contesting, no nothing, no feedback and everything, which is bad too. Like she wants to rule with an iron fist with no feedback, with nobody to like contest and stuff, which is bad because then her purview is always super clouded, which is what Tara said about her mom. And it's so true. Like it's so true. She really is very blinded by thinking that her way is the only right way, and it's absolutely wrong. So that's pretty much all I have for the spoilers, and I'll move on to the third book. I'm still reading, but I need to read this really fast before I see Ken Liu. So welcome back from the non-spoilers, guys. I'm moving on to the next book, and I'll see you guys then. Hello everyone, it's the final countdown. I did not meet my expected goal. Okay. I'm still on the third book. Ah, I feel ashamed. I feel ashamed I should have been reading this faster. And it's the last day before tomorrow, which is when I meet Ken Liu, and I'm not finished. I'm not even finished this book. I should have at least finished this. I'm what the hell am I? I'm only a halfway through. Is it disappointing? Yes. Am I a disappointment? Also yes. Ah, yeah. Well, I'm just here to just give you guys a final update of everything I read so far. So I've read the second book, which is about how many pages is that? 800 pages? And this one is closer to 1,000 pages. And what is my reading experience so far with this book? You know, when I was reading this for the last like week or so, um I really realized something, that I didn't want to rush the story. I really didn't want to, because I love this so much that I felt like I needed to enjoy it, but I also wanted to finish it because I didn't want to go to Ken Liu with a half finished series. Yeah, but I had a really good time, and I'm so excited to see him tomorrow. So with the Veiled Throne, without spoiling too much, we are in a new era of the story, um following a bunch of new characters, really. I mean, not new to us from this book too, but really new perspectives and a new era in general. um and I'm not loving it as much, not because I hate how it's going or whatever. I just love it when our characters are together, and now they're all separated, and that's what makes me like really upset. I want them all together. Them being apart is like literally ruining it for me. Yes. Yes. So I'm really waiting for the point where they kind of converge, because I think that is where we are gonna get after the second half, into the second half of the book, where they're gonna converge soon. But this first half is essentially all of them in separate areas doing their separate things, and preparing for a great battle that is to come. I'm not sure if it really will be a battle, but it feels like it's building up to a battle. And I'm loving the character directions that Kenyu has decided to take with some of the characters in book two. So in book two, we didn't focus too much on these characters, a little bit about them. And in this one, we're really, really putting the focus entirely on them. And I'm really, really loving the direction of where things are going. In terms of them, in terms of their growth. And you can, wow, there are some characters where I thought like F you, I didn't want them, you know. I didn't like them too much. I mean, I was okay with them, but now after this arc, I'm like, I can't hate you. I can't hate you. You're just human. You're just human. It's like no way to hate any of these characters because they're acting out of their own humanity. They're acting out of their own decision making, which is like so difficult. Like we are humans and we are contradictory, and they are like living, breathing humans, and not some fictional characters. And that's what I feel about all of them. And therefore I really do love where things are going. I'm just missing the camaraderie that everybody has together. um so I am looking forward to the next part where we can tackle that. But I'm just here to update you guys that I failed. I couldn't finish it, and I am no one is more disappointed in this than me, okay? Yeah, I'm trying my best. I'm gonna like speed read some before I. Oh, I think I destroyed my own book. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna speed read a little bit more. Not a speed read, but I'm like just gonna try and get in some pages before tomorrow because, well, I'm working tomorrow before the event, and the event is at 7 p.m. I wouldn't have any other time to read before then, so I would speed read some of this before tomorrow, even though I know I'm not gonna get past a certain point. And I'm so excited to see like Ken Liu tomorrow. I really, really am. Like, I'm so excited. I'm so intrigued by this man and his brain. Like, how does he write and create this story and these characters? Like, this genius. He is a genius. If you don't already know, I went to look up his bio because I want to find out like some stuff about him. And I found out this guy is like a corporate lawyer with an engineering degree, and he's a writer now. Like, I can barely survive as it is. This guy is thriving in his economy and in his environment. Oh God, like I feel insignificant. I feel like I should be doing more with my life, and I feel like I should be doing a hell lot. Yeah, I feel like I should be doing a hell lot more. Ah, I feel so bad. So bad. Anyway, I'll show you guys clips when when I meet Ken Liu tomorrow, and I'm very excited, and that's probably when we'll end the vlog, I think. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Cut to the clips of me trying to read this.
Which is very, very difficult. So I will just this whole excerpt.
I'm closing out the vlog. So, did I manage to finish the Dandelion Dynasty? No, I did not. As you can see from the previous clip, I completely could not finish it in time. But, I'm kind of glad because I would have rather take my own sweet time with this and enjoy it to the fullest because I could and I would never be able to read this for the first time ever again. And I thought about that when I was reading The Wall of Storms really quickly. And I said that to myself and I sat there thinking to myself, like, man, this story is so good. I wish I could just slow down and read it in my own pace and really like just absorb everything as it goes. And it turns out that life got the better of me, and I got more stressed from other things that were coming from outside of my life, and then I just did not finish it in the end. But I'm really enjoying what I'm reading so far, as I've updated you guys. So yeah, so yesterday we met so yesterday I met Ken Liu at the event, and he was talking a lot about how he's translating work, talking a lot about AI and aliens, which is, it's so fascinating to hear him talk. Like, what is going on in that man's brain? Because on paper you can be like, yeah, I get it, and then it's like fascinating that he could churn out such ideas, or just straight off the bat, the questions asked and he already knows like what he wants to say, and I'm just impressed at his eloquent, like really structured thinking. Yeah, and the moderator said that too, and she wondered if like that's just him, or like him always daydreaming about these questions and coming up with the answers in his own head, trying to formulate what exactly he feels about the situation. And he's so wise and such a genius, and I'm so amazed, and I've learned so much. Like, I'm not a translator, I'm not an artist in any sense, any word, in any sense of the word, but I do enjoy consuming art, and to hear from the artist's perspective of what art should be and how art should be formed was an interesting perspective. And he brought in a lot about history and how things has always been done, especially in the translating kind of work. And I found it so refreshing to hear that, the fact that, translating a piece of work, it's like finding a new truth. And I never thought about it that way, because maybe I was thinking about contemporary work, that's made in this time and being translated. And he was right about how contemporary work is usually about completely not being there. The translator is only there to translate the work and disappear, and not be seen, transparent, because all they are is a vessel. For example, a Japanese work, they are just the vessel to translate that Japanese work into English. And I thought it was extremely fascinating to hear from that standpoint. Maybe because I don't think about this kind of stuff. So I was like, yeah, I never thought of it that way. And the example he brings up for, older works that get translated is that you have the freedom of, seeing what's important and then finding a new truth from that. And the example he gave is Shakespeare's work, because Shakespeare's work has been done over and over again. But why do you keep going to see maybe the same Shakespeare play, like Taming of the Shrew, for example? It's because you want to see how these new actors will, interpret what Shakespeare wrote, and how would they embody those characters, because you're not looking for the most ideal form of that translation. You're looking for something new. You're looking for a new truth. I was like, wow, this man, what? Like, girl. Yeah. And I think it was quite interesting that at the event there were a lot of, artistic people, and they were more enamored with his short stories. Actually, most people turned up with their copy of the Paper Menagerie or the other short stories that he has. I was one of the few people that was holding like my 4 books, meeting him, like, God, like, what am I doing? Yeah, and safe to say he was amazing. I got my book signed. And he wrote like a message in each one, which is so kind of him, But I'm not gonna lie, I can't read the message. It's a little bit of a scribble, but I love it. I love that he penned his words on those papers, and I would treasure my copies for the rest of my eternity. I really would. Yeah. So that is like the end of the vlog. I hope you enjoyed my reactions to reading The Wall of Storms, The Veiled Throne. Maybe in the future I'll post the final reading vlog of Speaking Bones, or do a entirely wrap up of a reading do a review of the whole series in totality. But yeah, safe to say, these books are my favorite books of all time, and Ken Liu has cemented himself as my favorite author of all time as well. He's on a pedestal with ML Wang, he's on a pedestal with Celeste Ng. There's Celeste Ng, I'm saying her name like every Celeste Ng, and there's so many authors up there, but not, yeah, there's not many authors up there, and he's up there with the rest of them because he has created a masterpiece that will traverse to the end of time for me. Yes. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.